Joining me now, Lene Erickson, Senior Vice President of Third Way, Michael Steele, former Republican National Committee Chairman and an MSNBC political analyst, and Steve Phillips, host of Democracy in Color podcast and author of the new book, How We Win the Civil War. Thank you all very much for coming to the Sunday show. Lene, I'm starting with you. The numbers don't paint the clearest picture. Republicans are making crime a central issue, but the latest NBC News poll from late September didn't even have crime in the top 5 most important issues to voters. It was down at number 7. Meanwhile, your colleague Jim Kessler was here in March after your organization, Third Way, released a report showing that 8 out of the 10 states with the highest murder rates in 2020 voted for Donald Trump. And yet crime appears to be a winning issue for Republicans. Why?
You know, I think that they're definitely trying to paint a larger picture that the Democrats are the party of chaos, right? So we're talking about crime, chaos on the border, chaotic inflation, and that's the overall way that they want to paint our party. Now, as you pointed out, that's ridiculous because we all want our communities to be safe. And frankly, Democrats have shown that they're better equipped to do that. You know, Mississippi has 5 times the murder rate as New York City, but you don't hear a lot about that. And I think you really need to make the case to voters that we aren't the party of chaos. They are the party of extremism and insurrection, and we're the party to really deliver results for the people.
Okay, Chairman Steele, this is what's called a layup for you. Why is the crime message hurting key Democrats as opposed to, say, the economy?
Because over the last few cycles, Democrats largely gave a lane for that narrative. From the defund the police moment forward, that has been something that's sitting in the back of people's minds. And this period that we're in right now is reminding voters how uncomfortable they felt with that idea. While, yes, that's not a direct narrative. In fact, Republicans want to defund the FBI. But the reality of it is, crime is something that white America associates with people of color in large measure. That's what these ads are. They're showing you photos of convicted black men. They're not showing you, to the point just made, of the white men in Mississippi who've been part of increasing the crime rate there. But the reality of it is, race is at the bottom of this. At the end of the day, it boils down to how they play the race card, how effectively they play the race card. And I don't hear anybody saying, oh, there you go, talking about the race card. It is. Because if it wasn't the race card, then you wouldn't be showing ads of black convicted men. You'd be showing ads, showing statistical ads, showing how the rates have gone up under this party or that party. But that's not how this is played out. So, you know, the reality of it is, there's a lane here. It's working. It's having an impact in places like Pennsylvania, especially. And Oz has been very effective at going after Fetterman on this issue. And you're seeing it tighten the race.
And Steve, more on this point of crime, because that's where I was going. Crime seems to work with Republicans because it's all about associating black people, the other, with crime and then tagging that to Democrats. But that's not something that's new this election cycle or even Willie Horton back in the 80s.
Yeah, no, and thanks for having me on, Jonathan. And I hope this panel isn't confusing for your viewers, because I was once on a D.C. Metro train and I was confused for Michael Steele. So hopefully navigate that. But you're 100% correct. People have been using crime as a way to try to scare white people about people of color for almost 400 years. The 1712 South Carolina Constitution, and they passed a series of slave laws specifically to control the behavior of Negroes and other slaves who are of barbarous and savage nature. So that's a long-standing piece. Then you look at Nixon in '68, after the urban rebellions of the '60s, running on a platform of law and order. And then Trump tried to do the same thing, you know, trying to appeal to the suburbs and demonize Minnesota, et cetera. So it's a very, very long-standing proposition, but it's less effective now. Trump lost to Biden because the composition of the country has changed. When Nixon did it, there were people of color were only 12% of the population. Now we're 40% of the population. And so that also provides the prescription for how do you deal with it. summon the best white people to stand up to it, call it out explicitly, and maximize voter turnout.
And Lene, in this conversation, I'm still trying to understand how in an economy where inflation is at the highest it's been in 40 years, you have Republicans who are eschewing that message and going right to crime, which I said in the intro, the latest NBC News poll shows it as 7th in terms of concern, crime. So my question is, how do or should Democrats push back against this notion, this long-held notion in politics that Democrats are soft on crime?
You know, like I said, I think we need to focus on the fact that we are providing resources to prevent crime, and we are the ones to really deliver safety to our communities. Everyone wants a safe community, no matter your race, your gender, where you live, and we need to be on the side of providing that safety. And we have been, you know, it bears it out in the numbers. So I think we need to be affirmative on this and not let Republicans be the only ones talking. And one thing that has changed, although these racial attacks have not changed over time, as we've mentioned, is the way that people associate crime with guns on our streets. We just had a poll this week that showed that when you ask people why crime was rising, an equal amount of people said that it was illegal guns on the streets as people that agree that it was defunding police. So we really need to lean into the fact that we can make this about Democrats making our communities safer and getting those guns off of our streets.
And so, Chairman Steele, you've just heard Lene lay out that argument. Do you think it's an effective argument?
I do think it's an effective argument that should have been argued about 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. She's right on point. I don't know why Democrats don't talk to the people in their orbit who actually know what the hell's going on and can actually give them the play weeks and months before a general election instead of 3 weeks before a general election.
You've met Democrats.
What part of this country are you not getting that you don't see this coming at you like a friggin' freight train at 1,000 miles an hour? And you just stand there going, well, it ain't going to hit us. No, it's about to hit you. And so the fact that you've got these resources and these people and communities that are out here, that are on the ground, that are potential cohorts in clarifying the narrative for you, we're 3 weeks out. This message is sunk in with voters. You're right. It's number 6 on your hit parade, but it's number 1 in how people are looking at who they're going to vote for.